Hey, it is Greg Milby, Kentucky's Heartland at kentuckysheartland.com. We're at the Elizabethtown Police Department today. It is National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week this week. Did I get it right, John Thomas?
Well done, sir.
Thank you. So we've got a roundtable discussion here. We decided we'd put a microphone in the middle here because we want to talk to our dispatchers. Because all of that, it is like one of the longest titles for a celebration week that I've ever seen in my life. But
that's why you don't see it as a hashtag.
But it is all about the dispatcher.
Yeah.
And I've had a chance to work a lot with the Elizabethtown Police Department. Had a chance to work a lot with the officers, but I have had the blessing to work with the dispatchers too. And I think you guys really truly are the unsung hero of the police department. Because when somebody's having a bad moment, they're calling you to get connected to somebody they're hoping will fix that bad moment. And I know that's a pretty stressful job at times, and I've had a chance to talk to you after some pretty intense situations. It can be a tough job. So Lisa's here, Chris is here, Alicia is here with us, and John Thomas.
Right.
So Lisa, we'll start with you. How did you get into this job?
Oh, goodness. I wanted to be a police officer originally. That was my goal. I knew Virgil Willoughby. Position came open for dispatch. He asked me to apply for it, so I did, and here I am 11 and a half years later.
11 and a half years later. So is it
Not as long as him.
Is it better or worse than you thought it was going to be?
I didn't even know what to think, really. It's changed a lot, and I think we all can agree that over the last probably 5 or 6 years, it's changed significantly from what it was when I first started, but I love it still to this day. So
you love it?
Yeah.
All right. So what's the big draw for you?
Helping people, knowing people. I mean, we know I'm nosy. Get to know everything that's going on.
I guess.
It's a rewarding career for sure.
Cool.
Yeah, and I don't have a college education. Very short stint in college. So to have something that I have a retirement, I have a great group of people to work with. I can retire from this job and make decent money, and it's a good job.
Good. And you got a lot of great people to work with. Yeah. And then Chris,
Yeah,
Christopher.
Well, it is what.
Are we going official? Are you Chris today or are you Christopher?
It's whatever you want. I will answer to any 4-letter word, generally.
So, Chris, how did you get involved with this?
Well, I was in the Marine Corps years ago, and I was military police, and then I worked at the jail out here for 5 years prior, and then I thought, well, hey, I can work down here. Maybe that'd be my foot in the door, and then I got here, and turns out I like dispatching, and I like to think I'm pretty good at it. A lot of people would probably disagree with that, but I
Definitely.
like to think that I'm pretty decent at it. And,
what makes a good dispatcher? Being pretty stern and
no,
pretty focused?
it's not even about being stern. It depends. It's about being able to not take anything personally. For lack of a better way to put it, you almost have to kind of detach yourself from everything that's happening so that you can process that information. Because if you let yourself get real attached and involved in it, I mean, emotionally wise, it can rip you to pieces. And I mean, you're going to have that sometimes anyway, but you'd go nuts if you try to do that with everything.
Yeah, and I guess when people call, I mean, these are big life moments for them. I mean, there's some very stressful situations for them, and I'm sure it is. They can sometimes not be the nicest people in the world because they want somebody there right away.
Sure.
And you've got to, I guess, assess the situation before you send somebody into that.
Sure. And when it comes to people being ornery with me and cussing at me or whatever, that has never fazed me. I thank Marine Corps boot camp for that.
There you
go. It doesn't matter what they say. I've got more butt than they've got teeth, and so they can.
Well said.
They can.
That's going to be a graphic right here.
Yes,
that's got to be a
absolutely.
graphic.
Yes.
That's got to be an excerpt from this interview.
So they can say what they want. I'm going to try to get the information I need to relay to my officers so that they can get there prepared as best as I can possibly make them to deal with whatever's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been doing this it's been over 14 years. I'm working on 15, and so it's always been that way. We do it so we can help people out, to take these bad situations, the worst day of somebody's life, and try to get the best possible outcome from those things. I mean, we've listened to everything. I mean, we've listened to people die on the phone. We've listened to shootings on the phone. We've done all. We've heard it on the radios, and it's just you're just pushing through it. You're trying to be there for the guys. I mean, the responder safety is number one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you guys feel about it, but for me, even when I hear about a critical incident that happened when I'm not working, the first thing I think is, "Boy, I'm glad I wasn't working."
Yeah.
But then after that, I'm thinking, "Oh man, I wish I was working because I know how I'm going to do it and I know it's going to be done right." And it's not to slight anybody
We're control
else.
freaks.
It's
We're major
yeah,
control
it's
freaks.
because I know that I know how to do this. I can get it. I'll do it.
It's
It'll
hard
be
to let
done
it go.
right. They won't have to worry about a thing.
Yeah.
Not on my end, anyway.
What about with you? How do you turn it off when you go home?
Oh, you have to find other routes. You know, you have to find hobbies or your family or just someone to listen to. That's probably the best way. Just find something else, distract yourself with it.
Yeah, because
Deal with it if you have to. I mean, there's all kinds of all kinds of resources out there that you can help deal with some of these situations. And if you need it, get it.
You know, you talk about officers, and, you know, it's a life and death situation. It could occur to an officer at any given time, but you know, you guys are involved with life and death situations that you're on the other end of the phone. You really have no control over. How do you deal with that? Because I mean, we've had a lot of that around here, and not just with our citizens, you know, but we've had officers involved, and I'm sure that takes on a whole new level because I heard you say our officers, and you know, and you guys have kind of taken possession a little bit. It sounds like of the officers, so it really strikes home, and when you can't see anything, I'm sure it's hard to do your job.
Yeah.
We're a team, you know. It's the officers and us and everybody in this building is part of the big blue machine, you know, if you want to put it that way. And every piece goes together to make it work. So we can't do without those guys, and they can't do without us. And I mean, it's every aspect. So yeah, there's ownership of it.
And we're lucky to have a group of people here that we all get to know each other.
Absolutely.
The camaraderie is amazing. I mean, like you said, it's a well-oiled machine. It works just perfectly. You can't train for that. It just works. That's perfect.
Well, John, let me ask you, and you're not seeing that great on TV here, which is great. I mean, no offense.
I appreciate
We're
that.
tired of seeing you all the time, actually.
I get tired of seeing myself.
So it's good
so
that you and I
good.
both are at an angle because
Yes.
it really is truly focused on these folks. But and not everybody can see your awesome pink tie. Maybe you turn around a little bit and you can show me.
Lisa,
your pink
why
tie.
don't you repeat to the audience what you said about my tie?
I said that your tie looks like an old couch.
That's good.
But you gotta think. I'm thinking like
But it makes
Civil
for a
War
great tie.
era, beautiful
Not all tie designs make
antique
for good couch
couches.
design.
I think my
It's a beautiful tie. I think my great
grandmother had a blouse that pattern.
It might have been
It
that.
may be
An
her
Easter
blouse.
dress.
There you go.
curtains.
The camaraderie, as they were just
Curtains.
mentioning,
I
you're
can
seeing
see
it in
that.
action.
Yeah, I've seen it a few times out there.
Hey, trust me, if we didn't like you, we wouldn't say a word
Understood.
to you.
Yeah.
I get the dynamic.
It
So-
works for you.
Speaking of a word, what do you have to say about dispatchers? Because I know it means a lot to you guys.
They are absolutely mission critical to what we do. You know, our mission is to provide quality service to our citizens. We could not do it without these guys and gals. No way. They are absolutely the lifeline between us and the public. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't know what the public needs. They are the calm voices when people are having the worst day of their life. You know, in a lot of cases, the work that they do to calm people down before we get on a scene goes a long way to keep a scene under control. A lot of times, these guys and gals will stay on the phone with somebody who's having that worst day, and they'll keep them calm, they'll keep them collected, they'll get information that they need out of them. It's tough getting information out of someone who's upset, who's just experienced a tragedy or violence. But they do it every day, and they do it with empathy, with compassion, in such a way that they are able to get that vital information and then relay it to us at the same time. That's the thing. It is moving so fast in dispatch. They're answering the phone. 911's a separate line that they have to answer. They're running license plates and driver's licenses. They're listening to the radio, answering officers. They're doing a million things at one time. And for them, you know, to collect information on one end, relay it to officers on another, it's mind-blowing what they do. And again, it's absolutely critical to us. For us to show up on a call, we depend on them for, in some cases, information that will make the difference between life or death. Unless we get information from them, we're going into a call completely blind. So we absolutely depend on them. And again, you said it correctly. They are the unsung heroes of this police department.
I would agree. And so when you do get calls and you have to send an officer into that, how do you break things apart to know, all right, this person here, I think we're going to be able to work with them and be able to make the situation better. How do you compartmentalize that?
Well, it starts one question at a time. When the call comes in, first off, if they're hysterical or whatever, we have to gain control of that call, and get them back down to a thinking level where they can respond with proper information, And sometimes it takes a little work. Sometimes it's easier on some people than it is others. Some people, there's no way you're going to get to. You can say whatever you want, and they're just going to pieces.
They're going to scream at you. Yeah.
And it won't make any sense. I mean, they're just hysterical.
Hopefully, you can get a location.
But the most important thing is the location, because if I don't know where people are, I can't send anybody to some place I don't know. And it's a big city. I can't just tell people to look. Drive around, keep your eyes open. No, it doesn't work that way. So first thing I'm gonna do is I got to get the address where they're at, location. If you're out in town fooling around, shopping, whatever, you may not know the exact address, but there's enough stuff here. I'm gonna find out by asking questions of what's around you. What's this look like over here? Do you see any signs? Whatever. I'm gonna find out where you're at. That's gonna be the most part. So we break it down in bite-sized pieces, and we start getting that information. I get their name, I get what's going on, I get their phone number, so if something happens I can call them back. Even though all that shows up most time on caller ID and everything, it's not always right. I don't know how many times I've had caller ID, even on the 911, say one thing, and then when I ask them, it's something completely different. So you get that, and then you start finding out the nuts and bolts of what's going on. And then you got to ask about weapons and if they're safe. Also, if the caller is safe, and if not, can they get to a safe spot to where they'll be okay? It's about keeping that level of safety not only for my officers that are responding, but for the people that are calling for help. Try to help them out.
I think that's an important point, Chris, because sometimes people aren't thinking clearly. And as soon as they make that 911 call, that's their security blanket. They may not be thinking rationally enough. Okay, I'm around a violent situation. I actually physically need to get away from it. Once they're on the phone, they may be thinking, okay, this is my safety line. I'm safety net. I'm going to block everything else out. And these dispatchers have to think clearly enough to tell them, no, you need to remove yourself from this situation. They have to think clearly for folks who aren't thinking clearly for themselves.
Yeah. Now, I know some of these calls, you're getting calls one after the other. Do you ever get a time in between after having a call that's pretty, is there some kind of protocol in place that says, okay, you take 5 minutes, you take 10 minutes, or is it just back to the next call?
It's not a protocol, but it's that camaraderie ship. We can tell when one of the other ones, they need a minute, they need to back off for a second. And if there's time in the room, they can walk away for a second.
Yeah, it depends on call volume. We know that, like she said, if one of us needs a break, you can tell, has had their fill for a minute and needs to decompress just a little bit, they can take a walk. But
it's hard to leave the room.
But it is, because when it's coming in, anybody who's never been in the radio room before, when you're in there, it's feast or famine. It's either bright and sunny and nothing's happening, or it's pouring monsoon season rains. It's just everything, more as much as you can possibly handle. There's not much of it in between. And so when it's like that and everything's just coming down on you, you don't really have a chance. You got to get back on your horse. No matter how bad it was, those phones are still ringing, and they depend on you to answer it. So as soon as you get that break where it's okay, where the volume is enough to where your partners can handle it, you gotta.
And it's unpredictable. It's so unpredictable.
I
can leave for 15 minutes, and Chris will get
that's the way
get his butt handed to him. And but we're capable of doing it. Luckily, right now it's not like we're working in Louisville Metro or anything. One person typically can handle it, but we know what we're doing. We know how to prioritize. We know what a hold button is. We know how to ask the questions to get what. If someone calls and says they need help right now, you need to assess that situation because you may have 911 rolling in. You got other calls on hold. You need to figure out who is your priority at that point. So we know how to handle it. But if someone has to walk out, they got to walk out.
Just listening to you guys, I think it's interesting that. I would think that you're like, I'm glad that call wasn't me. But it seems like you guys want every call.
You kind of do. And that's what, like, walking out is hard. It really is hard, especially, when you just had a foot pursuit or something crazy that just happened. You want to be in there. You want to know what's going on. It's not because we want to take over. It's because we want to make sure everything's okay, and we want to make sure our officers are safe, and that the other dispatcher isn't too overwhelmed. Or that's what we're there for. If someone's got to handle the critical incident, and the other person's got to handle answering the phone, well, that's what we're there for. We work together. You can't do one without the other.
Right.
So if one person needs the help, you both have to be there for each other. That's
because you think about police officers going to a scene and rushing to a scene. You talk about firefighters rushing into a fire. You never really think about a dispatcher wanting to rush into a call. But you guys want to take every call. You want to be there, and I think that says a lot. So, what's one of the craziest calls you've ever gotten? Because I know not every call is a life or death
it's
call.
Always that question.
Because I know there's some great answers out there. Because not every call is that critical call.
No.
I'm sure.
Crazy can be on
Yeah, it depends on what you want to know what crazy is.
Yeah.
Now, also, I know you guys have probably been very disappointed that Houdini the Goat is now in a sanctuary somewhere, because
so
now you
You
have
have no idea.
You
how
have
been
glad
cussed out
that
over
I
that
am
goat.
that he is gone. Oh yeah, we've all been cussed out over that goat.
I'm following that goat because I have a thing for goats.
there you go. So
There's always one. Always one. Every group.
It's not Billy Joe Harrell.
So, what? Give me a fun story, a crazy
fun
story,
story,
or
crazy
I don't
story.
want to say fun story, a crazy story.
Let's see. I remember early on, like when I first started working here, it was one of the more high impact calls for me at the time. It was a woman who thought that someone was breaking into her house, and she was frantic, and I was trying to give her instructions, stay on the phone with me, this is what I need you to do, I've got help coming. And lo and behold, it was her neighbor who'd heard a noise and was trying to get in. The key didn't work. So it seemed crazy at the moment, and I'm so worried about this woman and getting people on scene, but it was just the neighbor checking on her. So, I mean, it was intense for me at the time. So
Especially
it sticks
early
out to me.
on too.
Yeah.
I'm sure you would have reacted different now than you would have early on to it.
Well, early in my training, I had this, armed robbery coming out and everything, and my trainer just grabs my chair and just shoves me out of the way.
You got to when you're training a new person.
I did that once.
Because
have to.
if you think about new deer or new calves or anything, they're all wobbly on their legs. Well, that's how a new dispatcher is. They can't really take off and run.
Is that a Billy Joe Haycraft quote right there?
No, it should be though.
Yeah.
It should be.
That's the control.
I didn't think of
freak
it
in us
that way.
coming out
Yeah.
too.
So when you're training somebody and then all of a sudden it gets real, because there's no way to learn this without doing it in real time. It's live,
Yeah.
So you let them go through the routine stuff, but when it gets, there's a reason we have wheels on our chairs so their trainer can be like, all right, you're going, I got to take over.
Yeah.
And you jump in there,
I
move.
did that. Yeah. We've all
Get in
done
there
it.
and if you've trained
Yeah,
anybody,
maybe.
you've had to do it.
All right, I know you got crazy stories.
I do.
I've seen some of your stories on Facebook.
Yeah,
so.
but those are usually about my kids.
And they're 20 pages long. We don't have that
No,
time.
we can't. We don't have time to read all that,
Yeah,
Chris.
But people enjoy reading my stuff, and if they don't, if they don't enjoy reading my stuff, I enjoy writing it. So there it is.
That's part of the thing.
So, yeah. As for crazy stuff, you know what? There's been so much stuff, and if it's not something that's vitally important, I really just kind of let it go. But there's been. You see on the news where people say, "Oh, this person called for 911 because their order was wrong at McDonald's or whatever." Yes, we've had those, and that it does happen. People, if you can imagine the most absurd thing you can think of, we've probably had a call on it at some point. And honestly, if I was going to get into the real crazy stuff, I don't know what I'm allowed to say about those
There
things.
you go.
John's
over there
Don't look at the PIO. I don't know anything about it. No.
There are
Can we
rules, so
say?
I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
there's some. I mean, we've heard it all, and just when you think you've heard it all, you get something that's entirely new, and is a head scratcher. It's never. It's
It's the
always.
ultimate
And that speaks to the
customer
patience of you all. I
service.
mean, there will be times, we have people who suffer from mental illness who will call in the police department on a regular basis, and these dispatchers will sit there patiently for 10, 15 minutes, half an hour, listening to people talk about aliens and microwaves and all kinds of bizarre conspiracy theories. And sometimes they are in danger and they actually need an officer. Other times they just need somebody to vent to, and that's what they do for them.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's an amazing service you guys provide. And I think, I see it, and that's why earlier this week I wanted to make sure that I had a chance to sit down and talk and really celebrate you guys, because you can't do it enough. That's a really long title to celebrate this week. But National Dispatchers Week, I mean, one day is one thing, a week is another, but I think you guys really truly deserve more time than that, because you go through a lot. The officer has an opportunity to go out and speak in schools and be an officer and help somebody in the time of need, but they don't actually see you. They don't get a chance to thank you when that time has passed. So I think I wanted to make sure it was done properly, that we had a chance to come in and kind of share that, because you guys do wear a lot on your sleeve. I know during your the Department Appreciation Dinner, I know there were a couple of major events that had happened that week, and you could see that you guys were you needed that time away. And so I think it's a pretty cool testament too, that you guys all have a few years of experience. That this is one of those jobs, I think, after probably after a week whether this is you or not. Yeah, and for you to say you see yourself retiring here, that says a lot about a job that every day is different. It's not fast food restaurants. Our friend Chris Flanagan over at Chick-fil-A, they have mad rushes, but it calms down. You guys, your mad rushes is not over a chicken sandwich. Your mad rushes are over people and their lives. So,
and you say it has a lot to say about the job. It has a lot to say about the department.
It absolutely does.
I think the job, you can go somewhere else and not have what we have here. And I would tell anybody any day that this is a place to work.
Yeah, I'll put the Elizabethtown Police Department in the city of Elizabethtown up against anybody else in this country as a place to work. And I don't think you'll find any place better.
I'm one of the newest hires, and I'm at 7 years.
Yeah, I
You're
mean,
still the
our
rookie.
retention is amazing. Our newest person is a year and a half.
yeah,
And that's only because we had someone
Went to the dark side.
that was a new that was someone changed positions. Otherwise, we got a new position. We're getting a brand new position. No one's leaving.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because we're busy enough on days now where we've got to have a third person in there. So
Yeah. And if people are leaving, they're leaving to do something better for themselves. They're not leaving because this is a terrible department. They're leaving because they want to better themselves and move on,
Right.
and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that, but it doesn't happen very often.
Well, just as a disclosure, I'm a board member of the Elizabethtown Police Foundation, so it's not a ploy to bring that out. But the support that you guys have from the community and from the city itself says a lot, because I mean you have some really nice equipment in your room in there, which I think should make your job a little easier, right?
it does. It does. There are places that are not as fortunate as we are, and I don't know how some places do it.
There's always room for improvement. I mean, we didn't have a map 6 years ago. We didn't know we had Google Maps pulled up if we needed to. So we didn't have anything to visually see what was going on in the city. And we can do a ride along, and we can go out and get a little bit of an idea of what this area is. There's still places in the city that I don't even know. But the map helps.
Well,
we can zoom in, we can see what's going on. And that was a major deal for us.
It's constantly
about
evolving. Each town's growing, and they're constantly adding new businesses, new streets, new things. It's always changing,
It's
so
all
we
there,
don't
yeah.
always know. So the mapping has really helped that out.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's good stuff. Well, thanks for the time. I know you guys are busy, and I didn't want to dig in too deep because I don't want you all, I don't want Chris getting all riled up over too
I don't
much.
get riled up, man. I'm laid back.
Keep you mellow.
The only time I get riled up is when it's deer season. We got a few months. So,
Right now it's baseball season.
Yeah. I know you're a
He's
big
calm.
baseball fan. You're a big baseball fan. You just like goats. And he likes his hair. That's great. That's it. Well, again, thank you for all you guys do.
Thank you.
Again, as a citizen of this community, I want to thank you for what you do. And don't ever think that it's not appreciated. You guys are the rocks. I mean, they just go out and wear fancy badges. I mean, and drive
Pretty
cars
ties.
Yeah,
with
that's
lights
right.
on, and you know. So
No, you support us like crazy, and I don't think we'll ever forget that.
well,
so, we appreciate that too.
this is what I can do. That's all I can do is to share your stories and share what you guys do so other people know about it. And that's, I mean, you guys are rocks, and we appreciate it. All right, we appreciate it. Because I've said that like 10 times now. Because I'm trying to figure out how to
You're
wrap
very
this thing up.
appreciative,
I'm
Greg.
very appreciative.
Can we
That's
get a
what I
close up
am.
of the hard part?
Of his hair?
Yeah, the hard part.
I don't know.
I'm not sure the lens can stand up to that.
I know. I've
Maybe
kind of got it
not.
at a weird angle here, and I can't. But I think people know John Thomas's hair. I think it's famous.
It's the stuff of legend.
That it is.
They're going to come out with.
And if you don't think it's a stuff of legend, just ask him.
They're going to come out with
I'll
the
tell you.
EPD officer John Thomas Halloween costume, and it's be like a swim cap with the hair molded in.
You know, I have
That
one
will
of
be
those.
your
Like the
costume,
president
Greg.
has.
I actually have
Yes.
one of those. That's a
Yes.
great idea for
I
next
love
year's
it. I love
appreciation
it.
dinner.
Love it.
So that's good stuff. All right, we thank you for watching. It is Kentucky's Heartland. Visit us anytime at kentuckysheartland.com.